Can you imagine being told that you're only allowed to have one child? In 1979, this happened to all of the mothers in China. They were told that they could no longer have more than one baby because the government wanted to make the economy better, and in order to do this, they were going to slow the population growth. In 1981, the birth rate per woman was 2.7 births. Mothers were dumbfounded when this rule came into place.
Their faces say everything. This is a couple broken by China's one-child policy. A mother forced into an abortion 3 months before her baby boy was to be born.
我没看得见那个孩子。如果是我看到孩子，我更伤心了。孩子，对不起，我们是有冤无分。你得上天好好待人，我们好好为你祈祷，你好好做人，好好投胎。
So many parents experience unnecessary heartbreak. If they were to break the one-child policy, they would face harsh consequences. Mothers all throughout the country who had more than one child were forced to pay heavy fines. There were also soaring rates of female infanticide, along with mothers being forced to participate in involuntary sterilization. Many were also forced to have abortions. Parents were unsure of the most effective way to fight back against the new rule, but thankfully the government realized that their policy was doing a lot more damage than they had anticipated. New York Times writes that the government was faced with a dangerous demographic imbalance in both age and sex. They found that there were 40 million more men than women, including 18 million more boys than girls under the age of 15. The government estimated that by 2020, there would be 30 million eligible bachelors who would be unable to find a wife. They also realized that there were not going to be enough kids to take care of their elders like they had in the past. The government started thinking that maybe their policy was not the best option for China in its future. Compared to the birth rates of 1981, where there were 2.7 births per woman, the government estimated that in 2015 there would only be 1.6 births per woman. In 2013, China finally relaxed their policy and allowed families to have 2 children instead of 1. However, there are so many challenges and complications that families must face if they want to have another child.
Ending an unpopular and draconian population control policy is certainly cause for celebration.
Now, we have the introduction of a new policy, 1 couple, 2 children.
Wait, they're ending the one-child policy by making it a 2-child policy instead? Will the new 2-child policy help the demographic crisis the one-child policy caused?
It will take decades because the birth rate probably won't increase fast enough. When the 2-child policy was piloted back in 2013, only 1 in 20 eligible couples applied to have a second child. In the end, stopping the one-child policy is good PR. Most people outside China will think that it's a great thing, but what they won't realize is that the underlying system isn't changing. Chris?
Thanks, Shelley.
So yes, you could say that the policy change is a miraculous thing that's going to do wonderful things for the country. But is it really that big of a change? Many parents are dismissing the new allowance of 2 kids because of how expensive it is to raise them. The cost of everything in China makes it extremely challenging for parents to be able to provide everything they think their children should have if they are going to have more than 1 kid. Also, parents have to get a government-issued family planning service certification, which requires many stamps from many people and a lot of unnecessary hardships. The government still tries to make it challenging for parents to have babies. However, there are some positives to the change in law. Parents are now allowed to have an extra child if one of their children has a recognized disability in China, or if their first child is a girl. USA Today describes how even though it may be challenging for parents to provide for a larger family, they are still thankful to have the option of having more than 1 child and not facing the risk of having to possibly be sterilized, abort, or give their child up for adoption. Even though there is still a child limit, it is one step towards the right direction for China. China is slowly figuring out how to best handle their population growth. Families may face difficult decisions, but they can see that improvements are being made. China is taking one step at a time towards a brighter future for all.